And good evening. Welcome to another edition of the Pad, the Best News Radio Show on the Best News Radio Network. We thank you for joining us. As always, if you're watching on Facebook at LA Batchelor, if you're watching, of course, on YouTube at Pad Nation, or if you are watching on Pad Nation 2 at Twitter, we thank you for joining us today. I want to bring in my guest. Always good to have him on. Of course, he is the voice of UMass Lowell basketball, and certainly he is from Anastas Media. He's Nick Anastas. And Nick, always a pleasure to have you on, my friend.
Thanks for having me, LA. How are you?
Good. Appreciate your patience and your flexibility. So last time we talked, if it wasn't a state of emergency in Patriot land, it certainly has to be now. This team just can't sustain drives. And they don't score a lot of points. Their running game has been inconsistent, but could be good. And you lose Judon and all these guys, and your recipe is 1-5.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to argue with anything you said there. I think you're right on it. I will build on it a little bit. I think the O line is underperformed. Period.
Right, that's true.
And it all starts, as we know, with any team up front. But it really is hard to find a silver lining here. It just is. 12 points per game through 6 games. That's about as bad as things I've ever seen. Not just with the Patriots either. In terms of point production, point average through that long of a stretch. They're not getting push up front. They're not getting any chunk plays at all on the ground. They're not picking up positive yardage on first down. I mean, the list of problems is almost overwhelming. Now, despite all that, the defense, I think, has kept them at least in half the games competitive. The blowouts aside, in the games that they were close, it's because the defense kept them close. That defense should continue to perform. We'll see. They're going to throw in J.C. Jackson right away after bringing him back in from the Chargers. We'll see what that looks like. They have some strength up the middle of the field at the second and third levels. I do like the safety play so far, but as you highlighted, Judon gone. There's no consistent pass rush. The defense has played well in flashes, but not in terms of takeaways or scores. They haven't been able to help out in that regard. That may be asking too much, but it's notable. And then, meanwhile, the fans are ready to set everybody on fire, whether it's Mac Jones, whether it's Belichick, whether it's Kraft. I mean, they're coming after Kraft this week. So it's an ugly scene up here, both on the field, in the stands, on the radio airwaves. It's something that this part of the country has not seen in about 30 years.
Why are they going after Kraft in particular?
They say he's too old, needs to step aside. Same things they're saying about Belichick. In terms of Kraft, handed to his son, who's been groomed to take over for quite a while now. But there's a lot of finger pointing going on. And, in the eyes of the fans, nobody's safe. Now, these are from the same fans that not too long ago were the first to say, "In Bill we trust." Bill we trust. In Bill we trust. Don't worry about it. They can do whatever they want. They're going to be fine, etc. Now those same fans are calling for Belichick's head. I don't understand that. I don't. But in terms of your original question and, what's going on the field, it's just a bad football team, at least through 6 games.
Should we expect anything different moving forward?
I don't think so. I mean, unless, again, suddenly that offensive line can come together. I mean, this was one of the better groups up front last year, statistically. league wide. So, yes, they've been banged up here and there, but everybody's banged up. To say you guys are banged up and then you don't produce, well, that means you don't have any depth. And that's just as big of a concern.
Right.
So, I don't know. They do have some rookies that are cutting their teeth on the second line of the O-line, so to speak, the backups. They had two fourth rounders on a center and a guard, and a fifth rounder on another guard. So, can those guys get good quickly? Maybe, but I don't know. I mean, David Andrews, for all the accolades he's had at the center position over the years, he looks like a shell of himself right now in year number 9. So it may be a case, LA, where some of those veterans got old at the same time, type of thing. But whatever. There's problems everywhere. Up front, Mac Jones has underperformed. The run game never got off the ground, and they lost their best defensive player from a unit that otherwise has underperformed, the defensive line. So, there's a laundry list of things that need to be fixed in a short order, and I do not see that happening this week.
Talking with Nick Anastas here on the Batchelor News Radio Show. Nick, how much is this not necessarily, to blame on Belichick in the sense that he went with 2 coordinators, one of which is really hung his hat on defense, and how much of that really affected this kid at quarterback?
You talking about last year?
Yeah, when they went with the 2 coordinators, he didn't name one and all that.
Right. Patricia obviously was a defensive guy that was in the wrong position. Okay, I get it. Sure. If you want to chalk it up to that, chalk it up to that. But that's obviously wasn't the entire situation. We're finding that out now.
Right.
A lot of it is personnel, et cetera. Situational football. I don't think Bill O'Brien is anything special either, by the way. He was highlighted as the big Band-Aid. He's going to come in and fix everything. Well, there's been plenty of mistakes he's made on 3rd and short and in the second halves of these games that we can nitpick if we want to, but he has not gotten off to a good start. And the lack of movement. I mean, even if, forget the points for a second, but even if they could put together some sustained drives, give that defense a little bit more of a breather, shorten the game a little bit, then that'd be one thing. And that's, at the outset, what they were supposed to be designed to do. But when you're going 3 and out, when you're turning the football over, when you're giving the other team short field after short field, doesn't matter if you have a Pro Bowl defense out there. Eventually, they're going to crack.
Right.
So, to isolate one of a number of problems on both sides of the ball, I said it before, I'll say it again. It's up front. It's that unit up front that is broken right now, and that's the genesis, I think, of their problems.
Talk with Nick Anastas, of course, on the Batchelor News Radio Show. Nick, I mean, it's too early. The season's still going on or whatever, but, what did they do? I thought the offensive line would be better. They've underachieved. I certainly think they got a solid running back. But what do they do? Where do they build? Where do they start at this point?
I think that's really the only thing you can do is just, stick to what I thought was the overall plan in August, which was to ground and pound.
Right.
They brought in a second tight end. Bring a 6 lineman out there. Bring 2-3 tight end sets. You've got Ezekiel Elliott, who's still got a little bit left in the tank, still got a big body at 228 pounds. And Stevenson is only in year 3, so he should be, in theory at least, more productive. But again, until they can get that ground game established to set up the play action, to set up the third and medium throws, then I just don't see this thing improving anytime soon. Now that being said, I'll try to put on the optimist hat for a second. The NFL is a week-to-week league, as we know. For example, the Niners looked unstoppable 10 nights ago when they blew out Dallas, and then a week later they come out and they can't move the football at all in the second half. So it can be a week-to-week league, and maybe the Patriots come out with a little bit more fire as the David versus the Goliath against Buffalo on Sunday. But I don't realistically seeing any big swing anytime soon.
Yeah. So I'm just thinking that where they want to draft or what they want to do in the offseason, because obviously at 1-5, chances are you're probably not going to make the playoffs. So they should be playing the games going week by week, but they should have a game plan going in. And, Belichick in the past likes to stock draft picks. So maybe he does that.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if there's, a sell-off in the next couple of weeks. The trade deadline is on Halloween, so we're less than 2 weeks out. But if you could move one of these veteran pieces for picks, I would do it. I mean, we'll see. But if we're talking draft strategy again, I'm not going to beat a dead horse here, but they need another tackle. They need a young tackle, a first-round tackle. I would start there and build out.
Right. Looking at the division, talking with Nick Anastas, looking at the division, I see that the Jets are trading, I guess they're trading Cole Harmon to the Chiefs. And then you have them winning. Philly just laid an egg, but the Jets defense played really well, even with injuries in the secondary. So let's give them credit for that. Miami is going to score a lot of points. We know that. And then there's Buffalo. Like, I can't figure out what they're trying to do. I mean, what is your game plan when you get into these situations and you can't finish the deal? Like, to me, Nick, it's Miami's to lose, because the other ones, you don't know what you're going to get at this point. And with the Bills' injuries, I think that's even more important.
Yeah, I agree with most of that. I still kind of like the Bills in the long run. I think their problem, LA, is as simple as it sounds, is that they play down to their competition.
Right.
And, you see that a lot in high school. You see it a fair amount in college, but you don't typically see it in the pros. But I think this is one of the exceptions where you are seeing it in the pros. The Bills played down to their competition. I mean, when they seemingly in the big games, like last year against Kansas City, earlier this season against Miami when they were fresh off the 70-point win, they showed up. They dotted their I's. They crossed their T's. They were crisp. They made the right calls from the sidelines, and the players executed. And when they do that, they are very tough to stop because they're so talented everywhere.
Right.
Milano out. We'll see how big of a blow that is in the long term.
I mean, he's a tackling machine, so I think that's a big one.
In coverage as well. He's got those long arms. He's got a knack for making plays at key times. He's going to be missed. He was a first-team All-Pro selection for a reason.
Right.
But, there's still pieces on that defense, and they can still get a rush with only 4. They don't need to blitz. And they've got one of the best pass rushes in the business, pass rushes, plural, in the business. So I think they're gonna be built to stick around. Their problem is, again, getting focused week in and week out. And that's ultimately a reflection on Sean McDermott.
I was gonna say.
That at the end of the day, that is one of the head coach's biggest responsibilities at any level, is getting your team ready to play. And time again, it seems like they haven't been ready to play, especially the last 2 weeks in the first half, where they're sleepwalking for the first 2.5 quarters. And then they realize they got a dogfight at halftime.
Right. And that's one of the things that I was critical of with Sean's former classmate, William and Mary, that'd be one Mike Tomlin, and getting teams ready, coming out be interesting to see what happens with the Steelers going to the Rams after having the week off. Before I hit NBA, Nick, give me your power rankings in terms of, like you said, I thought the 49ers, look, you're not going to win every game most of the time in this league. So I wasn't crazily surprised the 49ers lost, especially when they were in the game. They just need to make that field goal, 41 yards, and they missed it. So they still could have won. The Eagles, a different story. They just looked like they didn't want to be there at all. The Jets were more physical, and they deserved the win. But when you look at the power rankings, when you look at these teams, who would you say would be the top five? Nobody's talking about the Chiefs because they've been winning ugly or winning by 3 or 7, but they're still winning. So assess at least your top five right now.
I think it starts with the Chiefs. They're the defending champs until further notice. They've been the benchmark of the league for the last 5 years. And I think they're still the NFL's main storyline.
Right.
They're as talented as ever. And they'll figure it out on offense. They'll figure it out. I mean, they're doing enough to get by.
Right.
147 points through 6 games, whatever. It might not be up to the Chiefs standards, but those are still pretty good point totals.
Right.
So, whatever. They're built for the long run, and they're a team that typically gets better as the year goes on under Andy Reid. So I think it starts with the Chiefs. Another team that probably should crack the top 5 that we haven't mentioned is Detroit.
Oh, yeah.
And people are going to laugh me out of the room or whatever, but not really. I mean, what they go 8-2 in the last 10 last year. They start 5-1 this year.
Right.
If my math is right, that's 13-3 over a 16-game schedule. I mean,
they're winning games on the road. Albeit, look, Baker Mayfield and Tampa may not be Brady in Tampa, but they still, leading that division. You go on the road to get that win. You go on the road in your division, you get a win against Green Bay. So, I mean, this is not your grandfather's Detroit Lions team.
No. Let's not forget about opening night in Arrowhead on ring night.
Right.
You go in there and get a win.
Yep.
Right? So, I mean, what are we talking about? Dan Campbell, it should be in the hunt for Coach of the Year if they hold up. But what he's done in the last 16 games at 13-3, where they're running the football better than anybody. Jared Goff, again, another guy who people like to roll their eyes at, but he quietly had a top 10 year statistically last year. He doesn't turn it over. And yeah, he's not flashy. He's not going to put up the big numbers or whatever, but he can keep you in football games, especially if they're indoors. So, the Lions, they have a ground game. They've got depth at receiver. They got one of the better O-lines in the business. They got a veteran quarterback at this point. It seems like he's a selfless player that just wants to win, who's been to a Super Bowl, by the way. And then you got a really likable head coach in Dan Campbell. He's the definition of a player's coach, for sure. Right. Anybody who watched an episode of Hard Knocks last summer could tell you that, where he's out there doing up downs, with the players. So, the question is that defense. They played well through 6 games, but as you mentioned, when they start facing some real stiff competition, when the schedule gets a little more challenging in the second half, when the weather turns cold, etc., is that defense good enough to hold up and make a run? But to answer your question, through 6 weeks, I think it starts with the Chiefs. The Lions have to be on that top 5 list. Obviously, what Miami has done has surprised everybody. I thought they would be good, but I don't think anybody thought they would be that good, at least offensively. That defense is still suspect. And then the last 2, you have to throw in the Niners and the Eagles by default. Both at 5-1, both went to the NFC Championship game last year. Both have a pretty good offensive line. Both have a pretty good defense. Both have different style quarterbacks, but 2 good quarterbacks. And 2 good ground attacks. I mean, they're very similar. So the Eagles, the Niners, the Lions, the Chiefs, and the Dolphins, with the Bills left out at number 6.
Yeah. Yeah, but the Bills on the outside looking in. I agree. I don't know if I definitely got Kansas City first as you. Um, I'm sold on the 49ers. I'm definitely thinking the Eagles are who they should be. But I'm with you with Detroit in that top 5 and Miami. That would probably be my top 5. You're right. I would definitely um, go that route. Who's been a surprise so far, and who's been a disappointment so far in the league?
Well, again, I think Miami has surprised me with how good they've been on offense.
Right.
223 points. Tyreek Hill is going bananas every week. Whether or not Waddle's on the opposite side or not, he's going to get his numbers, and he's going to find a way. You know, he makes plays of 40 yards that other guys make of 20.
Right.
So that is a weapon that I don't think many other teams have, to say the least. Then, of course, they seem to have a formula there where they like the small, versatile backs. Backs that are small but tough enough to go between the tackles like Mostert. And then guys that are fast enough to make plays in space and in the screen game. Whether it's the new rookie Shane or Ahmed was another guy who fits the type. They're all about 200, 205 pounds, and they all can fly. So they seemingly have a system there that revolves around the smaller, quicker, faster players at the skill position, whether it's Tyreek Hill at wideout or those 3 running backs I just mentioned, or the undersized quarterback, who again is athletically gifted, can make plays outside the pocket, etc. So that Dolphin team is going to score with teams. Again, the question I think is the defense. I don't think they have the bona fides on that side of the football. They have some players, but they don't have a star. Not up front, not in the middle, not in the secondary. Xavier Howard is good. I think Ramsey's better days are behind him, although he's still a factor, but he's not what he was even 3 years ago. Their pass rush is inconsistent. I do kind of like Jalen Phillips on the edge, but again, inconsistent health-wise, performance-wise. So they could use an upgrade. I don't think they're going to get one in season either. I think they're going to have to go to the draft, spend some early draft capital on the defensive side of the football, where from a year from now, all of a sudden we're saying, they may be the favorite.
Right. I agree with you. I do like Josh Allen. He's a tackling machine too. And so, you're right. We'll see what happens with them. I think that they have the offensive pieces. They need to build on that defense. So, looking at the NBA real quick before we get out of here. I don't think we've talked, or maybe we have, about what the Celtics did and thereafter that trade, bringing in a guard with that size that can, really distribute the ball. He's unselfish. He plays defense, and he's like 6'4", 6'5". He's a physical guard. What do you think of their thoughts bringing him in, and what does that put Boston at?
Well, you got to keep him healthy, number one. As we talked earlier, the age 33 is a little old in my opinion.
Right.
For an 82-game schedule and then what's planned to be a long postseason run. I hope I didn't just jinx him, but that's my top concern. Can he still play? Absolutely. A shade under 20 points last year. They add another score. That's now 20, 3-point per game guys that they brought in when you consider the earlier trade, obviously, for Porzingis.
Right.
So now you got 4 guys who any given night can get you 20, 25. 2 of them can get you 30, 35. And one of them could probably get you 40. So they have offensive firepower. They gave up a lot to get it. including perimeter defense, including rim protection, is the new phrase everyone likes. But to look at this thing optimistically, Derek White is still there. He was an underappreciated, I think, piece of that unit last year. A playmaker first and foremost, kind of a glue guy, but again, has scoring chops and seems like he's fearless in big games. Another
Right.
big guard at 6'4", still in his prime at 29. So I think Derek White, especially with Brogdon gone, is going to have to step up a little bit and be more of a classic point guard than the combo guard that we've been accustomed to seeing. He's going to have to take on a little bit more of a facilitator role. And then we'll see, defensively. We'll see about the bench. There's a lot of new young pieces that are in camp. So we'll see, probably around Christmas time, once that rotation starts to clarify and solidify, we'll see exactly what kind of depth they have. But I mean, obviously the identity here is score. Can we run and gun? Can we outscore teams? Can we put up 120, 130 in a win?
Right.
That seems to be the identity heading into the season.
When you look at the West, we talked about the East and Milwaukee. Final question for you. Milwaukee, making that trade to get Dame Dime, and Boston doing you can look at some other teams. Obviously, my Sixers not one of them, in my opinion. What about the West? Lillard's gone. Denver lost a lot. Had they not lost a couple of their pieces, I would have said they would have ran it back. I'm not necessarily sure. You mentioned we've talked about Golden State, Clippers, if they're healthy, Phoenix. Who do you have right now on paper if you had to make a pick coming out of the West?
Well, it's still tough, I think, to bet against Denver. I typically, no matter the sport, give the benefit of the doubt to the champ, unless there's an unusual circumstance. And yes, they did lose a little bit of that rotation, a little bit of that depth, but they still got big number 15 in the middle.
Right.
In the middle of his prime, right in the midst of his prime.
Right.
So, and his running mate is with him, Jamal Murray. That's an excellent balance that they have. And those guys obviously play well together. What the rest of that new rotation looks like, we'll see. But they've got a good coach over there. Michael Porter is in that mix. I've always been a fan of him, even though he's been kind of a journeyman. It seems like he's we'll see how it works in Denver, but he's a guy who can make a difference in a number of areas. But, the main thing is the Joker. I think that's the main storyline. They were the number 1 seed last year, and they got the job done.
Right.
For the first time in franchise history, they put the Denver Nuggets on the map. And it's tough to run it back. It's tough to repeat. We know that. And, the West is still pretty deep. But I'd be surprised if Denver wasn't in the hunt come May when it gets down to the second, third round.
Yeah, I would say as long as they got the big fella in the middle, they'll be in it. What about Phoenix losing Ayton and they're going sort of. I mean, they were already doing offensive ball, but going a little bit smaller. But a lot of people think Book and Durant should be enough to get them to the finals. Your thoughts?
I mean, that's yet to be seen. Everybody was saying that when Durant got traded there too, and that didn't work out. I don't know. To me, I think Durant is on the downswing. Yes, he can still go off, sure. But how many games is he going to miss due to injury?
Right.
That's the only question that matters. And that's the biggest question for a guy that age, that injury riddled. The young kid's a different story. He's, barring some bad luck, he's going to be out there. He's going to play, 42, 45 minutes, no problem. And he's quietly become one of the best guards in the league. Beal, obviously everybody's excited about that. But again, that's been a guy who's never made a deep run in the playoffs. Eric Gordon, same thing, talent there, but he's always on the couch with you and I come late April, early May.
Right.
So, everybody's quick to crown them. I'd rather, again, go with what I know, and that's that the Joker's in his prime, and they're the defending champions.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I do believe in, whoever the defending champions in, if they can get back to that place, you got to make them the favorite moving forward. Nick, as always, my friend, I appreciate your time. Appreciate the patience and adjustment, man. And we will get you on next week. Thank you, my friend. You be careful.
I appreciate it, LA. Enjoy the night.
Enjoy the weekend, too. Yes, sir.
You too, man.
All right. Nick Nass is always good to have him on, talking some NFL and of course some NBA from a New England standpoint. He covers New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Connecticut, that area in sports. Always good to have him on to talk some sports with us. Take a break and get back to our next guest on the Batchelor News Radio Show.
HBCU, Pro Sports Media Association, providing accurate and comprehensive coverage of historically black colleges and university sports, news, features, commentary, analysis, and multimedia content from the leading voices in black media. We are committed to telling the stories of HBCU athletes and programs. Visit us at hbcuprosportsmedia.com.
Hey, this is Craig Batchelor Jr.
And this is Kevin Batchelor. And this is Smooth Smooth. And you're listening to
the Batchelor News Radio Show
on the Batchelor News Radio Network.
Times have changed. The power to create your own influence through your own network is now in your own hands. As a creative, marketing is essential, and you're limited to the number of marketing vehicles you have access to by the amount of money you have in your budget. We can help get you exposure all over the US, Africa, UK for as little as $35 a month on our Roku and Amazon Fire Stick network. Big Mind Entertainment, we're the vehicle for creators of today and tomorrow.
Waiting on the line. Another one of my guys that I'm a big Georgetown guy. I'm a UConn guy, but I'm a Georgetown guy, especially what Coach Thompson, rest his soul, represented for African Americans. But he is the current men's basketball coach at Savannah State. They're getting ready for their season, I believe, November 10th. He's a former Georgetown alum and champion. He is Horace Broadnax. And Coach, good to have you on, man, and thank you for your patience, sir.
That's no problem. I understand. When you're talking about sports, you could go down that rabbit hole forever. It's I guess whoever have the last word. But no, Pittsburgh, Florida State. I have some connection to those places, and I used to be a Miami Dolphin fan. I'm not a fan. I'm just a fan of the game. So it's too much emotional tied to when you're pulling for a particular school or a particular organization. And when I was a young man, I used to pull for a young kid. I used to pull for Miami when they won the 71-72 championship undefeated season.
Boo.
And then, it was up, down, and all around. I said, man, you know what? I'm going to just enjoy the game. I'm not going to pull for nobody. I'm going to just watch good football.
Right. And incidentally, by the way, Coach, I had Jimmy Black on. He's a part of a basketball league. I'm a part of semi-pro league. And we were talking about 81 I can't remember if you were on that team.
No, I wasn't. I wasn't. I
But you
came in
right
the
after.
spring of '82. I mean, the fall of '82.
Right. And we were talking about the shot and
Yep.
all those players from all that team. And then you come back a few years later with a lot of those seniors, and you guys, you get it done. Talk about that. The legacy of John Thompson, the fact that what he did, not just making players, but men
Right.
that happen to play basketball.
Right.
That's what gets lost. And the Allen Iversons and the Horace Broadnacks and the Patrick Ewings and Wingates and all these guys, he taught them to be men, responsible men in society. Talk about what he did for you in your life and in your career.
Yeah, I think that main word, the operative word, is responsibility. Um, and at the end of the day, he wanted to win too. So
Right.
I mean, he definitely emphasized effort on the basketball court and being responsible. And what I've learned, and I continue to learn, even as I get older and older, and constantly trying to be better as an individual or as a coach, as a person, as a husband, what have you, is that he emphasized that effort, the type of effort that you need to put forth in order to be successful. But he held you accountable, and he made sure that, hey, you were responsible. And I think, it was about winning, but at the same time, he felt that he can accomplish both by demonstrating to us the type of effort that we needed to be basketball players and just people off the court, because life, anybody you run into that's 40 plus, they got some stories about life, and life will hit you with a right.
Head.
I say life, exactly, and just thinking about, just I don't want to digress too much, but Todd Bozeman,
Right.
they lost his son, and him and Coach Thompson was pretty good friends too, and that's what Coach, he kind of teaches you to be responsible and make good decisions, and be a good family man, be a good person, and compete as a person to be better than what you're capable of being.
With that being said, I'm sure obviously that resonated with you when you, and I know you got assistant coaches, do a lot of recruiting stuff. Sometimes you don't get the chance or whatever the case may be. But is that your mantra? Is that what you sell, if you will, when you go into these homes and you say, listen, not only I played for a Hall of Famer, and not only he taught us how to win, not only all of that, but he taught us to be men. Is that what you go into it when you're trying to recruit some of your players?
Yeah, I think it constantly evolves with Coach Thompson and what he has instilled in my life, and just being part of the Georgetown history,
Right.
just based on him, where it came from, where Georgetown have come from, and what I've been approaching these kids with and parents with is being a high performer. We want to be a high performer in the classroom, high performer on the basketball court. We want to be a high performer, period. And I just going back to my days at Georgetown, just reassessing that. That's what Coach wanted from us. I didn't necessarily understand it, and
Right.
I'm still kind of breaking it down. But being a high performer, everybody wants you to be the minimum in life is to be a productive citizen. That's what everybody say. Go get a degree. No, I don't want to be no productive citizen. I want to be a high. Everybody want to be high performers. You want to win national championship, compete, and so that's what I try to emphasize with this program. Whether it looks like that or not. That's hey man, let's have this mentality. LA, I'm pretty sure you don't want to necessarily be the middle of the road individual with what you're doing. You want to kind of exceed expectations, and
Right.
Sometimes that's what Coach Thompson did. I mean, it wasn't easy all the time, but as I constantly get older and older, I say, hey, this is what this man was trying to instill. He may have not, but that's what I'm taking away from it. But just being a high performer and the effort that we had to put into it. And I tell people, I say, yeah, we were talented, but if we didn't put the effort that he required us to put the effort in, I don't think Georgetown will be where it's at. And then John Thompson wouldn't be who he was, because he was a guy who demanded effort, and he wasn't afraid to put forth that effort.
Talking with Horace Broadnax, the men's basketball coach at Savannah State Tigers, going to start their season in November. Just to put the Georgetown part to the bed, Coach, what about his son? You don't have to be specific or negative, but the long are the days that you beat in St. Leo, which I know is on your schedule by 50 points, and then then you're playing St. John's, so. What about this program and quote unquote the decline of it? What have you seen and understand about that?
As far as you're talking about Georgetown, right?
Right, Georgetown.
Well, I mean, I think a lot of things change, outside of that, and we have to constantly improve and constantly evolve. And I think Coach Thompson put the program on a level that a lot of people can appreciate. But at the same time, if you don't appreciate trying to get better and evolving what's going on around, obviously I'm very close with Patrick, know Patrick, and was pulling for Patrick during his period of time. And I had a conversation not too long ago, maybe about a month, 6 weeks ago with JT3. And it's just evolving. You just look at the sports world just evolving, and sometimes you have to kind of evolve with it. One thing I was telling JT during his period, I thought he had it off into a good direction. And I was saying if he could have kept some of those players, and a lot of people didn't realize that some of the players that he had, like Jeff Green, left early. Right. A lot of those guys left early. If they could have kept them, and that's something that he had to deal with. And then I think when Pat came in, the landscape was changing too with this NIL,
right?
Where he kind of got on the tail end of it, and people didn't buy into it. So, Coach Thompson put in a lot of energy to build this program, so it's in that position. So now there needs to be a lot more energy, coming from a lot of different areas, alumni giving, because this NIL is crazy, and if you're not going to involve with it, if you're not going to embrace it and learn how to play with it, you're going to get steamrolled over. Georgetown is going to be a tremendous academic institution with below mediocre athletic program that Coach Thompson put on his shoulder and brought it up. So now, hey, let's continue the investment. You got to continue investing the time, effort, energy, and planning and vision of the program, and just assuming that, hey, we Georgetown. What does that mean? We Alabama. What? I mean, hey, Florida State. Hey, we Florida State. What happened to Florida State? They trying to crawl back into that national scene. So people who get it are the people who are constantly saying, hey, this athletic program, this basketball program has a significant impact on this institution, and we need to invest in it and make sure that it is moving in the right direction.
You're just joining us. We're talking with Horace Broadnax, men's basketball coach at Savannah State. What about this portal for you, Coach? How do you feel about this for you? I mean, you talked about your alma mater, but coaching in the SIAC, and you guys had movement in football and all that. How has that helped or hurt your program in terms of this portal?
Well, I mean, I think, when we moved from Division I to Division II, we kind of lost a little bit of resources. So, just kind of bike pedaling and trying to figure this thing out too. And I think it's beneficial. I think it can be beneficial for us when you could, I got a young man out of the portal this year, and I'm gonna be kind of young this year, and then I see him and he's new. He's definitely got to understand who I am and what we're trying to get accomplished. But you could kind of see that he's been in the business for 3 years, so he has a little bit more swagger than some of the freshmen that I brought in, and then some of the younger guys that's on my team. So I understand tremendously why coaches definitely want to go to that portal, because if a guy's been in somebody's practice 2 years, a Division I practice for 2 years, a Division II practice for that matter, for 2 or 3 years, versus a high school kid, it's gonna hurt the high school kids tremendously, because coaches, when you win games, you win with experience, guys who have been in the war. It's very, I think if you look at Coach K, Calipari, when it was the one and done type era, it was tough for them to win. Not throughout the years they could win, but when it got down to playoffs, that seniority and that experience meant a lot. So the portal can definitely help a lot of people, and then you just got to embrace it. And it's here, so there's no need to deny it. Just make sure that you do it. And so I'm stepping out there as much as I can. A lot of times you want to develop players too, so it got to be a combination of all of it. Develop kids, and then add those good pieces too.
Talking with Horace Broadnax, I believe entering his second decade. I don't want to make you feel old, Coach. I'm just saying, second decade.
I think it's the third decade. I was in the 2010s, and now I'm in the 20s.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. Well, that would be going. You're in your third decade, but talking with him on the Batchelor News Radio Show, Coach. Let's talk about this team. Okay, so you got the portal going into this year, November 10th, out of conference schedule, which we'll get into before you go. Tell us about this team, your talent, what you like to do offensively, what you like to do on defense.
Oh man, I think this team I got is going to be a young team, not experienced. I think AJ Plain is going to be my main guy, coming back with, maybe 20 plus minutes. And then from there, it really drops off hugely. But I added some freshmen, added some transfers in there to kind of plug the part. I think I'm maybe talented wise a little bit better overall than last year's team. But last year's team, I had 6 seniors. It probably wasn't as good as the talent I have now, but they just been around. They knew how to stay out of trouble. A guy who's been with you 5 years, he's probably not as talented as some of the guys I got now, but they knew how to stay away from trouble, as opposed to these young guys. Sometimes they're going to have to make mistakes and learn. So I kind of like the team from that perspective. I think, I was telling my assistant coach we might look ugly in November and December, which is, not bad for basketball, as long as you're looking good in February and March. If football, if you're looking bad in September, you could really much cancel Christmas.
Right.
But basketball is a little different. It's a different season. November. A lot of people are happy in November and sad in March. So, I definitely like to be as competitive as we possibly can in November and December. But his team is young, so but I mean, it's curious. That's what coaching is about. See what you could do as a coach to move this team forward. Offensively, I done had a lot of different styles. I would like to tempo it as much as I can, and let the guys freely shoot. When we was 2018, 17, and 16, I believe, when Villanova won the national championship, and I think in 2018 we were second to them in scoring. So
wow.
And
so you want to go up tempo, you want to get up and down, Laker style, fat rebound, get it up, fast break.
Yeah, I'm capable. I'm capable of implementing that system. But if I ain't got them horses, and sometimes kids like, oh yeah, man, coach, I want to shoot. Yeah, I say okay. It's a conditioning part to that, not just hey, shoot the ball. So But when kids buy into it, it's really a good system. It allows the kids to be free, and then from a coaching standpoint, it's less rules out there. I mean, you have some basic rules, but if you have an open three, take it. If not, drive and get an easy layup or create an opportunity for your teammate to score. And then we try to funnel people on the defensive end to get them to play fast. And you want them to play fast because what you're betting on is your conditioning. You used to playing at a high level, running, and they want to play at a high level because it's fun, but their conditioning is not to your level. But at this level, I'll probably be we're opportunistic, get out and run, execute offensively, defensively. Let's stay in position, don't get hurt, second chance points. Not fouling, not sending people to the line.
I would think 50-50 balls would play into it too. Like 50-50 balls, even my limited time basketball coaches like that shows effort. You don't get on the ground, get that you want that guy that's gonna hustle like that.
Yeah, 50-50 balls, man. I mean, the terminology is out there, and that's one thing. When I was at Georgetown, I didn't learn. I mean, I learned terminology, but not as much as a lot of. Because when I started coaching, I had to go back and give terminology to kids to get the meaning of what I wanted. I mean, when Coach Thompson, oh man.
You be sitting, you got some splinters in your butt because you be sitting down.
Man, 50-50 balls. Man, we got 50-50 balls because everybody knew we was coming. I mean, if there's a loose ball, it was reckless abandon. I mean, we were coming. And if I didn't get that ball, I either got a foul or the other person got hurt because we were coming 100. We were coming. Because, I mean, that's what Coach Thompson instilled in us. That was our belief system. We were coming.
And they hated that about you guys, especially, I call them the PWIs. You know what I mean? They hated that about y'all. You played defense. You was scrappy. It was no nonsense. It was unapologetic, and they hated that. And so that's why I asked about that in terms of your coaching now.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of want guys to put forth the effort, and and that's sometimes my players like in practice the other day, the guy almost made a sprint, or he said he made the sprint, and I say, well, it's a tie between me and you thinking that. And I say, every time there's a tie between me and you thinking that, the tie goes to me. You didn't make it. And I said, the only way you're gonna get me out of the picture is exceed my expectation. Don't meet my expectation, exceed my expectation. And that's when you walk in practice, you ain't trying to meet Coach Thompson's expectation because you might just be a little bit on the south side of it. And you don't want to be on the south side of not meeting his expectations. So we exceeded his expectations. So if we saw a loose ball, man, we coming. If it's ours and it's a 50-50 ball, just like what you said, it could be anybody's ball. Nah, we wanted to make them odds a little bit better. 70, 80, we coming, and they're going to hear our footsteps.
Right. And I think people, somebody's text, isn't that football? No, 50-50 could be 50-50 in football is that wide receiver in that corner jumping and see who won. 50-50 is the hustle on the basketball court. It's the hard court. Are you going to go after that ball before it goes out of bounds? Are you going to dive on the ground and try to get the ball for your team? This is a 50-50 chance. So that's what I think. What about you defensively? With that being said, what your philosophy is on defense, what you like to do to stop your opponent?
Well, I mean, obviously, in the SIAC, I like to try to find out who's the best player, who's the most influential player, who makes that opposing team go, and then we want to the term is to cut his head off. And then if he's eliminated or he's restricted, then that kind of defeats the purpose of the opposing team. And so we try to find out who that is, and we try to either wear him down some kind of way, whether it's attack him on the offensive end or just make him really earn everything that he gets. We just try to identify those guys, and then obviously the ones that are not that strong or capable in the scouting report, we definitely want to let them be who they are. Don't let them come out of their comfort zone and be real good. So it's about playing good defense, not fouling, making people work, not giving people open shots, not second chance shots. Like sometimes my guys in pickup, I'll allow them to score points with offensive rebounds. So if you get an offensive rebound, that's a point. So that's a hustle stat. And if you turn the ball over or you create a steal, that's a hustle stat. That's a point. And just try to demonstrate to them those things hurt us. And those are the things that we want other people to do. We don't want to give up offensive rebound because that's more possessions. And that's one thing that Coach Thompson used to say, possessions. We want to have more possessions at the basketball goal and the quality of our possessions. So, and when we were scoring the ball in 2018, that was the key. When you force somebody to turn the ball over, that's an additional possession for you. And when you get an offensive rebound, that's an additional possession for you. So with the mathematics is that I could shoot poor. You could shoot better than me. And I still could beat you because if I have more possessions. So if I got 50 possessions and I shot 30% and you had 30 possessions and shot 50%, I don't know what the math is, but we're going to be somewhat tied.
And somewhere down the line, you're going to get that last shot too.
Yeah, I mean, and then we play fast to try to foul. You want to get to the free throw line. But defensively, you definitely don't want to. You want to always stay in position. Don't gamble on the ball. Steal off the ball. Don't block on the ball. Block off the ball. Stay in position so you could limit second chance shots.
Talking with Horace Brunaxi, men's basketball coach at Savannah State. Coach, you have a humble spirit, but who would be, when I saw you play, you come off the bench, you knew your role, you played defense, you score when the opportunities became, you fit in. You understood what Coach Thompson was doing. You're being very humble, but I watched you play. Who is that, or is that a reflection of what, if not a player, is that a reflection of who you want your guys to be, in particular at playing a 1 or 2, which you played?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I tell my guys, I think as a player, I probably done been from 13 to 1 at some point or another, whether it's an all-star team. I played a little semi-pro. So there's a different attitude for whatever position you are. And as a coach, you try to give guys roles, but you kind of you sit back and see where they are, and then you kind of mold them in that situation. And I know when I went to Georgetown, I was, one of the better players coming out of the state of Florida, but I had to fight tooth and nail just to get on the basketball floor. So in order to do that, I had to listen to what Coach Thompson was saying and what he needed. And, I try to fill that role. So I think one of the compliments or one of the compliments that he kind of gave me to a certain degree is that I could have been a whole lot better, could have had more stats if I was selfish.
Right. I was going to say that's why I said humble spirit. That's exactly what I was talking about. You could have shot the ball a lot more, Coach, but you didn't. You fit into the program, and
I mean, you
assists and stuff, but you could have scored more points.
But sometimes you have to find players like that because that's sometimes, those players add to the winning culture to a certain degree. When you got David Wingate, he's a prolific scorer. Reggie Williams, a prolific scorer. Then you got big old Pat down there. Michael Jackson was solid in his own right. So I mean, just a lot of people around that. It's only but one ball to go around. So, if I had open shots, I try to take them and make them. And definitely guard it. Try to create something on the offensive, on the defensive end. But I tell guys, man, it's fun winning. It's fun winning championships. So, it's good to be a part of a championship, whether I sacrificed or whether I was humble. That being a part of the national championship in 1984 is definitely a highlight in my life, and it's pivotal to me in the sense that it represents that we were part of a high achieving program, and we worked with a man who had vision, who walked in at Georgetown University that people knew in the region that they were an academic institution, but now they're a national brand that we got to continue to invest in to make it maintain and represent in the legacy of Coach Thompson. I mean, Ed Cooley, I think he'll do a good job and put his own stamp on it. He's a hell of a recruiter, so I'm excited about it.
So the question came in, Coach. They didn't say where they're from, but if you can see on your screen, I don't want to hold you up much longer. But
you're fine.
Okay, so it says, do you think that the portal helps or hurts Black athletes?
I think it hurts. It probably hurts Black athletes to a certain degree, because I have a couple of guys and I have one guy, I ain't gonna mention his name. He's like, Coach, man, I want to put my name in the portal. And I said, you got somewhere you're going, And he said, nah, I just want to, see what's out there. And I said, nah, we're not going to do that. And I think it hurts from that standpoint, because it probably hurts us worse, but it hurts all athletes that are not up in that top 10%, 5% that gets all the attention. People think
they're going somewhere, right?
Yeah, exactly. They it's a done deal before they go in the portal.
Right.
And I told the guy, I say, if you stay within the rules of everything, if you know where you're going or you got an ideal, somebody wants you, then yeah, by all means, I'm not gonna hold no kid if you want to leave. But just to be fishing, and I think that's what kids do. They get emotional, they get erratic, and they just stick their name into the portal. And then some coaches, I used an example on a kid. I said, hey man, I can't, I'm married, I can't, tell my wife I want to, go out here and look around, and then if I don't find her, can I come back?
The door will be locked, the cab will be waiting, your suitcases on the porch.
No, I said, if you're going, go. Don't look back. So I mean, I think it hurts our guys a little bit more because I always call it, and it's a term that Coach Thompson used to use: street agents. Too many people are in these kids' ears that don't have the ability to give them proper advice. Well, hey, you ain't playing. You need to play a little bit more. You could score more. You need to put your name in the portal. And that's bad advice. Anytime you put your name in the portal, you don't know where you're going. If you're not the first team SIAC, you don't need to be putting your name in the portal.
Right. And I would think, too, that, it's one of those things where you're being very strategic about it because, like you said, if you're not in that top echelon, you're just fishing. And then I would think, too, Coach, you probably have more agents around now than before the portal because these kids are fishing. Like, I can make this quick money right now for my family, whatever. Here comes the shark that smells blood in the water, and then they're coming to Savannah State trying to recruit your kid.
Well, I kind of like it.
It's a good thing because that means the kid and your talent, you see the talent and everything is good, but the other hand is, the other hand.
Yeah. I with some of my recruiting, I've been trying to recruit these high school kids that, they kind of want to be better than where they are. And, like I said, it kind of hurts them. But I say, hey, man, come to Savannah State, do extremely well. And if things works out, put your name in the portal and move forward to Division One. I told him, I said, it's a one and done program. Come in and do, if you successful, shoot, Savannah State going to be successful.
Exactly.
So I don't have a problem with a kid leaving if it's to higher and better ground that he could benefit himself and potential his future. So I don't have no problem. The problem I have is guys just thinking that portal is a magical, like, hey, I just put my name and then voila, Kentucky is coming. No, Kentucky already know where you are.
Right.
Somebody done put a bug in your ear, which, I ain't got no problem with that. So if a kid comes to Savannah State, has a tremendous year in a Division I program, that where he could still continue to be successful, by all means, I don't have no problem with it. But why go to a Division I program, you're going to be, 10th and 11th.
Sitting on the bench and you.
I'm miserable, mad.
Right. And you probably sitting on the bench at Savannah State. So why are you going to a D1 anyway? Let me just say for the audience to understand that Coach Broadnax is an attorney, and he attended Savannah State. How much of that attending your alma mater and being there, even if a different capacity, whatever the case, how much pressure is it as a coach to win where you slept at, basically?
What do you mean, Pat going back to Georgetown, or?
Right. It just being in your alma mater, going back and coaching where you were before.
Yeah, I think it's tough. And, I think with Pat, it probably was tough because he's a tremendous competitor, as a basketball court. When I seen him, that's what I tell my players. I practice with this guy, and man, he didn't take plays off. And I knew it was painful. Obviously.
But I guess what I'm saying, and I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that's fine.
Him is fine. But I mean, just going back to coach your alma mater in general.
Yeah.
Pressure of doing that. I mean, Pat, I thought got a raw deal. I think he got a raw deal in the NBA, but I digress.
Yeah.
But just in general, going back to coach the school you went there and with the oodles and noodles and stuff because you couldn't afford anything else, right? And then now you're there coaching. How much pressure it is to be a great player or an average player or a player on a championship team to go back and coach your alma mater?
I think it's real tough. I mean, because it's different. As a player, I think players got more control over the effort that is put into the program. As a player, as a coach, you got influence and you got vision. And then people make that comparison if you're not being successful. As a player, you did this, and then you're not doing this as a coach. So I think it's tough because I think you have more. I guess you have more skin in the game, and you probably put a little bit more pressure on yourself because you want to do well. Because this is like playing in front of mom and dad to a certain age.
Right.
You really want to impress your mom and dad with your life. So I mean, you back in front of stakeholders that knew you, fans. And obviously they pulling for you, but that's a higher bar. But it's part of the business, I guess. I mean, it's a tough one, but all of them are tough, to be honest with you.
Yeah, let's look in. We're talking about Horace Broadnax, men's basketball coach, Savannah State, getting ready for this season. Coach, I look at your schedule, and I mean, your out of conference schedule is different. I mean, starting off with, I think you guys play Florida Southern College. I don't know if that's a tournament or just a game in Lakeland. But then you're familiar with St. Leo in your Georgetown days, of course. I'm sure that's how you got it on. Then you play South Carolina, Beaufort. Then you get in the SIAC. Can you talk about how your schedule was put together, and if those 3 games are designed to get you ready for conference play.
Yeah, I kind of like. I guess I do it a little bit different than Coach Thompson do, because Coach Thompson knew that going into the Big East, we was going to be fighting giants day
Right.
in and day out. So he wanted that other schedule to be a little bit softer, however you want to say it. Dick Vitale call it cupcakes, but I want to do it the other way around. I want like Florida Southern is have multiple national championships. They play in one of the toughest conference in the conference.
Right.
Nova Southeastern came out of that conference and won the Division II national championship. So it's just when my kids say, "Hey, coach, I'm working hard and I'm doing good," I say, "Okay, let's go play some competition and see how we fare." And I think that Florida Southern probably is if they were in the SIAC, they definitely will be one of the best, if not the best, teams in the conference. I think St. Leo might be more towards the middle to top, give and take. And that's just based on resources that they have a little bit more so than us and the type of conference they play in. So to me, if November and December is messy, I don't, I don't, I mean, I do pay attention to that, but if we could get better through those experiences by going on the road, playing a tough Florida college in St. Leo on the road, I think we could compete with, Morehouse in our conference, Miles College on the other side, Tuskegee, Benedict College. I think all of them are really tough, but perennially, Tuskegee and Miles on the west has been up there, Benedict and Morehouse on the east. So those we are preparing for fights in the SIAC, and I think those games prepare us.
What about that you mentioned 2 perennials, but looking at this conference, who's going to be tough in your side of the world, and what do you see in the other side?
Well, I mean, I think Benedict bring back some good kids. I think they lose some pieces, but I think they bring back some good pieces from last year's team. And we just been since we entered the conference, we really been banging heads with them. And then Morehouse, they always seem to get a player here and there. So, and then every year, I mean, when you think somebody's not going to be as good as they are, here they go. Edward Waters is now in our conference, and I think they demonstrated that they could recruit good talent. So, Clark, Albany plays tough. Floyd Valley, is somewhat of our rivalry. I think everybody in the damn conference is our rivalry, to be honest with you, because we go out there and we have to fight all the time. And then on the West, man, Fred Watson, I mean, he does a tremendous job at Miles, so you could never count him out. Last year, he came back. The last 3 years, he's 2 out of 3, and we're fortunate to get a piece of that. But yeah, Miles College, Tuskegee, because I think, the resources, the type of scholarships that they have to offer, they can attribute better players. I think Lane College is going to get ready to turn corner with Andre Turner. He's been there his 3rd year and he's doing well. I thought Lamorne Owens was going to turn the corner with Bonzi Well, but he left, so they may have a rebuild, new situation. So yeah, I mean on the West, Miles College and Tuskegee, Lane College looking good. Kentucky State always have great talent, so it's going to be tough.
I was going to say, second and final question is that would you put the SIAC up against, say, in terms of the level of play, the CIAA? I mean, notoriously, as you know, the CIAA gets a lot more billing in terms of their basketball tournament and everything. I've been to both, more so than CIAA, but I've been to the SIAC tournament too. Great basketball. How would you compare them up to them and some of the independents, the West Virginia States and some of these other leagues, the Florida Atlantic League and some of these other leagues that are out there that have some of these HBCUs that have some institutions that are very, very good?
Oh yeah. I mean, I definitely would put the SIAC up with the CIAA. Definitely. If you looked at last year's, Morehouse and Benedict and Miles and Tuskegee, those top four, you know, I would roll with them all day long against the CIAA top four, and then throughout the league, you know, it just a lot of times I may be more successful against a team within my conference, but when they go into a different conference, they will probably expose a lot of different things. So I from top to bottom, I mean, uh, this conference is real dangerous. A lot of people like, yeah, it's not easy to win in this conference. It's easy to lose now. It's
Can
not
you
easy.
make people understand, Coach? I didn't mean to cut you off.
No.
That even with you had to play the likes of St. John's, Syracuse, right? The Villanovas, my UConn Huskies. I mean, when they came up, they were garbage back in the day. Don Perno, God bless them. But I mean, you playing the likes of these teams. Compare that to, I don't think people understand how stressful, how tough it is to play 3 games in a week against grueling teams like the Miles and everybody, whether you're playing in the East and the West, and you're playing these teams, how tough it is to win in this conference. I don't think people, it's D2, this and that. It's very tough to win games in this conference, as you know. Talk about that, how tough it is to win games in the SIAC.
Yeah, I mean, it may be cliche, but it's tough as hell to win.
In general, right? Yeah.
It's easy to lose. I mean, like we were 10-0 on our flow this year, this past season. We got Morehouse down 22 points at our place, and we lose at the buzzer. So, and you go back as a coach and you kick yourself in the behind, saying I could have did this and did that, but sometimes you're in the heat of the battle, and you barking out instructions to players, and and they're not necessarily executing or taking advantage of certain situations to take time off the clock, shot too early, then transition back on defense, gave up easy buckets, foul, put them to the free throw line. So yeah, it is extremely tough in this league to win. Because you have to play 40 minutes and you have to do the necessary things in order to win. And you got to play 40 minutes. And one thing I really admire about Coach Thompson and really appreciate about him, when you were saying that we were playing the UConns, the Villanovas, the St. John's, we prepared so hard, and that's a lot of people probably say that today too, and I try to emphasize it too, that you work so hard in preparation that when you get to the game, it's a relief. It's fun.
Wow.
It's okay. Hey, I'm ready for this. As opposed.
So did your players feel like that, or do your players feel like that? He is kicking our butt in practice, but in game time, man, we already got it down. Now it's just having fun and doing what coach and the coaches had asked us to do.
Exactly. I mean, that's the ticket. Sometimes you want to do that, and like it goes to recruiting, and then goes to guys just being around you. When you have seniors around you that's been through, Coach Broadnax and Coach Thompson. Because like my freshman year, I was like, hey, this dude is wild. This dude is crazy. Sophomore, okay. Senior, all right, man, I got you. Just sit back. We got this. And so. Yeah, and that's the one thing about this team that I have this year is kind of young. They don't understand some of the things that I'm gonna require from them. I say, hey, as you picked up, I'm humble to a certain degree, and I said when I'm off the court, hey, we could sit down, talk, break bread, but when we get on that court, it's just something about that was instilled in me. Like when I put my feet on that basketball court, I transform as a person and as a coach. And that's what I want my players to do. And then once the game is over, hey, we go back and be who we need to be outside of this world. But it's basically, it's an opportunity to play at a high level, and you got to battle, you got to compete, it's I mean, they keep score. You know, I always tell I say, hey, they keep score for a reason. They're trying to figure out who's gonna win this game. So it's not like I don't know what type of games we could play where we don't keep score.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why you so emotional about the Steelers and Florida States, because the score.
Right.
You know, Miami last week, take a knee. You know, it's hard to win, but everybody say,
I
"Hey,
don't understand that one, Coach.
yeah, I know, but it's hard to win." All
Right.
the dude got to do is hold on to the goddamn ball too. You know?
Right. You're right. Coach, I got someone in Texas said, what coach, if any, pedigree do you feel you're under as coach since Coach Thompson, I'm assuming they're saying passed away or whatever. And really the bigger picture is that we need more black coaching pedigrees. We need those. We need and I'm tired of hearing about Belichick. Tell me about Tomlin. Tell me about who Tomlin came from. So is there anyone, and to that point of it's black coaches and black players and leaving legacies, I don't want to hear about Nick Saban. He don't look like me, to be quite honest about it. What about you? If it's not Coach Thompson, is there anybody, do you want that legacy to move on after you decide that you want to go fishing for the rest of your life? You know?
I don't. Hey man, that's a lot of water to tote as far as Coach Thompson is concerned, and I think, yeah, you're right about that, and I think the beautiful thing of being a young coach in this profession, you know, I had the opportunity to look up to a lot of great African American males, Nolan Ryan, John Chaney,
Yes. Arkansas, Nolan Richardson. It was a lot of guys up there.
And you know, Coach Thompson. I just remember going to the Final Four and seeing those guys just standing around holding court, and just was really brass and just really, you know, outgoing. And Coach Thompson really used to tell it like it is. And I think, you know, it's kind of difficult for these guys nowadays, you know, because, and I don't think Coach Thompson and John Chaney and Nolan Richards was making that much money. George Raveling is one I was trying to think of.
Right.
So they used to talk trash, but, you know, I mean, you know, it's kind of tough. I like Ed. That's out there. You know, Johnny Dawkins is, I think, doing, you know, a fantastic job.
Got done dirty at Duke, but anyway, I digress.
Yeah, you know, Tommy Amaker is out there.
Got done dirty at Duke, but I digress. Second one, you don't have to comment. I'm in Durham, you know. So
yeah, I got my son is in Durham. My son go to Duke.
Right, and hey, nothing against your son, but you know what I mean. So
yeah, I mean, but I mean, you got, you know, he's probably the last leaf on the tree.
John Shire. Okay, anyway.
Florida State. Leonard Hamilton.
Yeah.
So one thing I like, I mean, I miss Coach Thompson. I miss all those guys. And the one thing what you're saying, that we need more and guys need to hang in and do it. Grady Brewer, that was at Morehouse.
Yes.
Man, he was.
Yes.
I enjoyed talking with him, and that was real painful that he moved on, because it connects you to the past. And, you know, that's why I like talking to older black males too, you know, sometimes talking 75, 80 years old guys. And then you listen to when they grew up in the 60s and 50s and the 40s, you're like, man, that's science fiction there.
But Coach, not only that, I would think too, that even if they're not coaching anymore, even if John Chaney or, you know, John Thompson, God rest his soul, George Raveling or so, it's not coaching anymore, at least go to them and seek the counsel. They've been there and trying to win games, wins and losses, but they're black men trying to win games, wins and losses. So go to them because they actually had to deal with that shenanigans, and I'm sure it's still going on. Go to Horace Braun and hey man, I'm just starting out. I've seen your success. I've seen this. I've seen that. Tell me what I need to do. Have to be humble. You can't be having this crab in a barrel mentality. That
Yeah.
if I go to Horace, that he might take my job. I mean, we can't have that. And I
Yeah.
think that's part of the problem, Coach. I'm gonna get off my soapbox, but
Oh no, no.
that's
I
part
mean,
of the
we
problem.
we got to keep working at it. You know, I think we got to keep working at it. You know, I mean, um, I talked with somebody like I think an old gentleman a long time ago, and then he kind of say be patient to a certain degree, keep working hard as a people. If you think about it, we are very young people in
Right.
America. You know, we were enslaved, released from slavery, what a little over 150 years, and then we really
18, whatever it was, yeah.
yeah. And then if you think about it, we had to get through the Jim Crows and the turbulent '60s, and so we're still young. I mean, yeah, we kind of, I know I'm impatient, and I think we are impatient, but we got to constantly keep working. Like you say, keep pouring into that next generation. And like you say, keep a connection between the older generation. I love talking to older men, older than me, and listening to their
Me
stories
too.
about, when I came part of like I used to travel with my parents, and we had to travel and not stop at nighttime, and particular places you had to travel, and I was oblivious to it as a young man, as a young kid, but just listening to some of these guys tell stories, and it's just amazing that that stuff happened in a civilized nation like this, and
Well, and I, growing up in the hood in the projects, we were poor. We weren't ghetto. We were just
right,
poor.
yeah,
And so I think that some of us are products of our environment, right?
hmm
So you were oblivious to what was going on. Maybe I'm 53. I wasn't so much because my mom raised 6 kids, so I seen police brutality a little different, probably in a different
hmm
era. But we still have to be conscious of the situations that we're in. And you, my friend, are the epitome of what Coach Thompson tried to do. He wanted guy who wants to lose. So he wanted to win, but guess what? He wanted to take, and you may not have been that, but AI or somebody might have been that kid coming from a bad neighborhood, whatever.
hmm
He wanted to take what society thought was the worst and make him the best. He got all kinds of flack, and I don't think he gets the credit he deserves. And I don't think people understand the impact he had on the game, like itself, and the social part of it.
hmm
Um, and you played under him. And that's why I'm so proud to have you on because I watched you play. I watched Georgetown play, and I saw what they were saying and the all the underlying stuff and the allegations and guns and gangs and this and that and they thugs and all that. I saw that,
hmm
and I think that players under people like yourself, if they understand where they came from, that it's not just basketball. You're teaching them to be men like you have been doing. I don't think they always get that. It's about the portal, this, that, and the other. But we are a village, right? And
yeah.
so I don't mean to preach, Coach. I'm just saying
Oh no,
it's
I mean, you got to preach, and
frustrating.
then one or two will make it, and then a lot. I mean, a lot of the guys that I coached, and obviously some of the guys that played for Coach Thompson. The older you get, you realize some of the tough love that he did, and it's brought me through a lot of tough patches in my life. Based on I said, hey man, I survived Coach Thompson. I went through Coach Thompson, and like when I'm in a tough patch, I say, man, this is easy right here, man. What I'm concerned about, didn't have to deal with Big John. So yeah, I mean these guys, the kids are good kids, the young kids, they different. It's their generation, and they believe a little bit what they believe. So, um, but they'll get it eventually because they'll start having kids and family, and they'll start seeing the responsibilities that they got to man up with. And you know, a lot of them don't like me, but some of them respect me, and it's just stemming from what Coach Thompson talked about. Just being able to stand on your own 2 feet, and that's a good feeling to be able to stand on your own 2 feet and then try to preach to these guys not to make excuses, but to figure out a way to stand on your own 2 feet. It's so liberating, and it's such a good place to be, that you don't have to ask for handout, but you could coordinate and collaborate with other independent people so that you could be successful. So that's what
Absolutely.
that's what the HBCUs are doing too. Putting their arms around some of these kids. And some of my guys, don't have a few of them, not all of them, but some of them don't have that positive uh, black influence, male influence in the house. However, mom is doing the best that she can. I deal with a lot of grandmoms, so we still got to fight to get over that, and give them an opportunity to be able to stand on their own 2 feet and be, minimum of productive citizen. But my thing is to be as high performing as possible.
Right. And grown black men. And I'll say my mother raised me out of 6 kids.
Yeah.
And, you know, I didn't have that male figure. You had a 6'10", 11 guy giving it to you every day. So I'm sure that had to be intimidating.
But it was, one thing I do miss about Coach Thompson, because, and then like I said, I miss some, I love hanging around older black men and having them tell stories. And Coach Thompson was a good storyteller, and I used to like to ride close to him and listen. I call him I said, Coach, tell me some of them lies, man. And but he was telling good stories, Bill, about Bill Russell, the Celtics, all that crazy stuff. Growing up in Southeast DC, playing a number for his dad, scared to death if he forgot to play that number for his dad, what his dad was going to do for him, and his mama, and I, just where he came from, and just to be, to coach in his hometown at Georgetown University and do what he did in Washington D.C. and touch so many people in Washington D.C. Rayford Edmonds, I can't think of his name, be able to sit down with a drug dealer. How many coaches could do that?
Right, put some
He was
blessing
amazing.
out. Right, and his racism that he had to deal with in Boston, backing up Bill Russell and stuff, and all the stuff that went there. Coach, I appreciate the time, and I appreciate the extra time. Best of luck, Lord willing, against Florida Southern College, November 10th, and best of luck on the season. I will stay in touch, and you be blessed and be safe. And thanks for coming on this evening and staying on as long as you have.
Oh, that's no problem. I appreciate you. It's always good from this perspective, from this age perspective, to talk about Coach Thompson. I don't necessarily want to go back between 18 and 22. It was good times. I appreciate it.
I bet.
Let's leave them where they are.
Right. He probably caught you. You was remember the Titans. They caught you and you did something wrong and you don't.
Oh man, yeah, I got a lot of John Thompson stories, man. Before there was NCAA rules, we practiced at 4:30 in the morning, and our original time was 4:30 in the afternoon. The reason we practiced 4:30 in the morning, somebody did something wrong, so we practiced 3 hours in the morning, came back, practiced 3 hours in the afternoon. So that's 6 hours. That's NCAA. You can't practice no more than 4 hours a day. And 20 hours a week, you can forget that.
Well, he creeped and did it and made y'all better players and better men. Coach, I appreciate you. Best of luck, sir.
Oh, yeah.
And thanks for the time this evening.
Oh, man, I appreciate you. Anytime, LA.
Absolutely.
You have a blessed day.
You do the same. Horace Broadnack, he is the men's basketball coach, Savannah State. November 10th, they start this year. I love this type of year because you get football. You get basketball, this the end of baseball, but everything. But I love college basketball. I certainly love HBCU basketball, and I certainly love Horace Brudnax and wish him the best in what he's doing. And again, a bright man, bright a coach with a young team. But guess what? Young means teachable moments, and they can learn. They learn now. Come tournament time, SIAC tournament time, and getting into conference play. Guess what? That teachable moment they remember. If it's a pick and pop, you got to rotate, and you got to show and backdoor screens. A lot of different fundamentals coaches, I'm sure, are going to teach, and his players are going to learn. So by the time we get into play and conference play, we hope to have him back on. I love Horace Brudnax, very humble man. I'll take a break and come back on the Batchelor News Radio Show. Stay tuned.
HBCU Pro Sports Media Association, providing accurate and comprehensive coverage of historically black colleges and university sports, news, features, commentary, analysis, and multimedia content from the leading voices in black media. We are committed to telling the stories of HBCU athletes and programs. Visit us at hbcuprosportsmedia.com.
Times have changed. The power to create your own influence through your own network is now in your own hands. As a creative, marketing is essential, and you're limited to the number of marketing vehicles you have access to by the amount of money you have in your budget. We can help get you exposure all over the US, Africa, UK, for as little as $35 a month on our Roku and Amazon Fire Stick network. Big Mind Entertainment, we're the vehicle for creators of today and tomorrow.
Welcome back to the show. Don't forget, if you miss any part of our broadcast, go to Pat Nation 1 at YouTube. You can also watch it at LA Batchelor at Facebook, Pat Nation at Facebook, Pat Nation 2 at Twitter, Spotify, Podbean, Roku, Fire Stick. Anywhere you can find a podcast, you will find our broadcast. Thanks to our guests. Thanks to all of you that are watching right now. We always end with music. So you don't see my ugly mug, you'll hear some music. Enjoy, and we will talk with you soon on the Batchelor News Radio Show on the Batchelor News Radio Network.
We ain't good, but we still good. Still good. I hate that we didn't make it to forever. Probably ain't getting back together, but that don't mean that I can't wish you better. We ain't good, but we still good. I realize that I can't be your lover. Let's just keep it honest with each other. I'll be happy for you when you find another. We ain't good, but we still good. Who knew it'd be like this? Usually my exes turn into enemies, but this is different. Cause we done got closer now that you ain't with me. All that love that we had, ain't no way we gon' forget that. And your family, love me like I'm family. You know where you stand with me. So when they ask, tell them right one, right time, wrong time. Can't say we didn't try, but you always been a real one. Even though we ain't together, it was real love, and baby it's still love. I hate that we ain't make it to forever. Probably ain't getting back together, but that don't mean that I can't wish you better. It ain't good, but we still good.
All the plans you made for me to be your missus, all the stacks that you just spent on me ain't lit. Don't go forgotten, but we're happier apart than locked in. Don't smoke with me, I promise, but don't do drama. It didn't work, but I hope you sleep. Find a girl of your dreams. Cause I sleep well at night knowing this ain't meant to be. Wrong time. Try. All good things come to an end. So let's just learn the lessons and find loving again.
I hate that we make it to forever. Probably ain't getting back together. But that don't mean that I can't wish you better. We ain't good, but we still good.
No matter who you with, I wanna see you happy. Oh, yeah, it didn't work out, but that don't mean you should attack me. We enjoy the 5-star meals, but you was with me for the Zaxby. Holding me down from the start. I used to be broke, I was ashy. I hate we didn't tie the knot, but shit, that's how life go. You always would say that I might blow. Got rich and I pay for your lipo. I know the person you is, that's why I still wanna be friends. If you wanna open up a new salon, I still help pay for the wigs. And I help with the lease. You know I ain't never been cheap. Relationships don't always last, but let's not turn it to beef. I'll come through from time to time and have you grabbing them sheets. That's if you want to, I'm just playing, girl, stop smacking your teeth. 21.
I hate that we didn't make it to forever. You know, Holly ain't getting back together. But that don't mean that I can't wish you better. We ain't good, but we still good. I realize that I can be a lover. Let's just keep it honest with each other. I'll be happy for you when you find another. We ain't good, but we still good.
They wish and they wish and they wish and they wish and they wishing on me. Yeah. I've been moving calm, don't start no trouble with me. Trying to keep it peaceful is a struggle for me. Don't pull up at 6 a.m. to cuddle with me. You know how I like it when you loving on me. I don't wanna die for them to miss me. Yes, I see the things that they wishing on me. Hope I got some brothers that outlive me. They gon' tell the story, it was different with me. God's plan, God's plan. I hold back, sometimes I won't, yeah. I feel good, sometimes I don't, hey, no. I finesse down Western Road, hey, yes. Might go down to G.O.D., yeah.